Ready for a deep dive. One that'll really make you think about what it means to be human.
Sounds intense.
It is, kinda. We're talking AI.
Okay, sure, AI. Lots of folks talking about that these days.
Right, but we're not doing the usual robots taking over thing. We're going way deeper into the philosophy of it all.
Philosophy and AI. Now, that's a combo you don't hear every day.
Exactly. We're going to explore how AI might be changing the very way we see ourselves, what we desire, our relationships even.
So, like, existential stuff.
Big time. And to help us navigate this mind-bending terrain, we're turning to a philosopher you might have heard of, Hegel.
Hegel. Now, he wasn't exactly writing about self-driving cars and chatbots, was he?
Nope, definitely not. He was writing way before AI even existed. But get this, his ideas about consciousness and identity are crazy relevant today.
Okay, you've got my attention. Lay some Hegel on me. What was this guy all about?
Well, to put it simply, Hegel was obsessed with understanding how our minds work, how we become who we are. And one of his big ideas was that self-awareness, that sense of me, doesn't just appear out of thin air.
We're not born with it.
Not according to Hegel. He believed that we develop our sense of self through our interactions with other people.
Interesting. So it's not just about me staring in the mirror going, hey, there I am.
Not quite. It's more like we see ourselves reflected in how others react to us. And that helps us build our self-image.
Makes sense. We need that feedback, that validation to figure out who we are in the world.
Exactly. It's like a constant back and forth, a social dance that shapes our understanding of ourselves.
A social dance. I like that. But how does this connect to AI? Are robots going to start having existential crises about their identities?
Well, maybe not in the same way we do, but it does raise some fascinating questions. Like, if self-awareness is all about this social dance with other minds, can AI ever truly become self-aware? I mean, it's not interacting in the same way we do.
Good point. And it kind of makes you wonder, what would AI self-awareness even look like? Would it be like us or something totally alien?
That's the million-dollar question. And that brings us to another of Hegel's big ideas, the master-slave dynamic.
Uh-oh, this sounds intense.
It is a bit, but stick with me. Hegel noticed that whenever you have this power imbalance between two people, things get complicated. The master might seem in control on the surface, but they become dependent on the slave. And that creates all sorts of tension.
Okay, I'm following so far. But how does this master-slave thing apply to us and AI? I mean, at first glance, it seems like we're the masters, right? We create the AI, we program it, we tell it what to do.
Right, but think about how much we rely on technology already. Our smartphones, our GPS, the algorithms that curate our news feeds. It's everywhere.
True. I mean, half the time I feel like I'm at the mercy of my spam filter.
Exactly. Or think about GPS navigation. We plug in an address and we blindly follow the route, even if we know a better way.
Wow, yeah, I totally do that all the time. So are you saying we've become the slaves to the algorithm in some ways?
It's a thought-provoking question, isn't it? And as AI gets even more sophisticated, are we going to become even more dependent on it? For information, decision-making, maybe even for emotional support.
And if that happens, does that shift the power dynamic in a way that makes us uncomfortable?
Uncomfortable is one word for it. So we've talked about AI and self-awareness. Now let's think about another core part of being human. Our desires. Food, shelter, connection, achievement, meaning. We're driven by all sorts of wants and needs.
For sure. Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
But where does AI fit into all that?
Yeah.
Can a bunch of algorithms really understand the messy, emotional world of human desire?
Right. It makes you wonder. Hegel believed our desires are a fundamental part of who we are. They drive us, they motivate us, they shape our choices.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
But can AI, truly grasp what it feels like to yearn for something, to strive for something, to be disappointed or fulfilled? It's all just ones and zeros.
Right. That's the million-dollar question. And it has huge implications for how we interact with AI. What happens when we're constantly engaging with something that can mimic our desires but doesn't actually feel them?
Whoa. Does that change what we desire?
Maybe. Or maybe it changes how we express those desires. Think about it. If you're always interacting with something that seems to get you on this deep level, but it's all just code.
Does it make your own emotions feel less real?
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, what does real even mean in this context? Are we comfortable with the possibility of AI blurring those lines?
This is getting kind of creepy.
I know, right? And it leads perfectly into this next topic, AI art. We're already seeing AI that can paint, compose music, write poetry. It's incredible, but also raises some really deep questions about the nature of creativity.
Yeah. Hegel was fascinated by art. He saw it as this outward manifestation of the human spirit, this attempt to find meaning, to connect with something larger than ourselves.
That's a beautiful way to put it. But if Hegel's right, can something made by algorithms, by cold, hard code, ever have that same soul, that same spirit as human expression?
That's the core question. When AI creates, is it just mimicking the form without understanding the underlying drive, the emotional depth, the human experience that fuels it?
It's like, could AI write a song that makes you cry? Or a painting that makes you feel a profound sense of awe?
And if it could, what would that tell us about the essence of creativity itself?
This whole AI art thing, it really makes you think about what it means to be authentic. Like if algorithms can create things that look and sound so real, so full of emotion, does that diminish our own experiences? Does it make us question what's genuine and what's not?
It's a valid concern. And it
Hmm.
brings us to another fascinating area where AI and human experience kind of collide. Empathy.
Yeah,
We often say that empathy is what makes us human, that ability to understand and share the feelings of others.
right. But what happens to empathy in a world where AI is increasingly simulating emotions?
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, think about those chatbots that respond in a way that feels almost human.
Oh, I know what you mean. It's impressive, but also kind of creepy. Like, are we getting used to a kind of simulated empathy?
Right? And if so, could that make us less attuned to the real deal?
I've definitely had moments where I felt a little, I don't know, uneasy
Mm,
by how well AI can seem to get me. It's like it knows me better than I know myself.
it's unsettling, for sure.
Hmm.
And Hegel believed that genuine human consciousness is deeply intertwined with our capacity for feeling.
Hmm.
We experience joy, sorrow, love, anger, all these emotions that are part of the fabric of being human.
Right, but AI doesn't actually feel those things.
Exactly. It just processes data and generates responses that mimic human emotions.
It's like the difference between someone giving you a hug because they genuinely care and
Yeah.
someone giving you a hug because they've been programmed to recognize that a hug is the appropriate response in that situation.
Yes, this doesn't hit the same way, does it?
Yeah, not even close. So the question becomes, what happens when we interact with something that can express emotions but doesn't experience them in the same way we do? Does it make our own emotional landscape feel less real, less meaningful?
Hmm. It's a good question. It makes you wonder if we're losing something important in the process,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm starting to see a pattern here. It's not that AI is bad or anything. It's just that it's forcing us to confront some pretty unsettling questions about what it means to be human in a world where the lines between real and simulated are getting blurrier and blurrier.
I agree. And it leads us to another key Hegelian concept,
Freedom.
freedom. How does that fit into all this?
Well, for Hegel, freedom was something we achieved through self-awareness, through ethical reasoning, and through our interactions with others. It's not just about doing whatever we want, it's about understanding our place in the world and making choices that align with our values.
Okay, I'm following. But
Mhm.
how does AI challenge that idea of freedom? Think about it. If AI is constantly tracking our behavior, predicting our choices, even nudging us towards certain decisions, are we truly free?
Or are we becoming more like puppets, dancing to the tune of algorithms?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this ties back to Hegel's ideas about the relationship between individual freedom and the collective good. He believed that true freedom is only possible within a society that values ethical principles and the well-being of all its members.
So are you saying that AI could threaten that balance? That it could lead to a society where individual freedom is sacrificed in the name of efficiency or some kind of algorithmic optimization?
It's a possibility we need to consider carefully. If we allow AI to dictate our choices, to shape our values, to determine our priorities,
We risk losing sight of what truly matters.
exactly, we risk becoming slaves to technology
Yeah.
instead of using it to enhance our humanity.
This is heavy stuff. It's making me rethink my whole relationship with technology.
It's important to remember that technology is a tool. It's up to us to decide how we use it,
Yeah.
what role we allow it to play in our lives. We can't just passively accept whatever AI throws our way.
But we learn to be active participants in shaping the future we want.
Right, exactly. So we talked about AI and self-awareness, desires, empathy, and freedom.
Uh,
But there's one more big piece of the human puzzle that I want to explore: work.
Work, okay. Sure, Hegel had a lot to say about work and its role in shaping our identities.
He did. He believed that work isn't just about making a living, it's about expressing ourselves, contributing to society, finding meaning and purpose. It's a way for us to connect with the world and leave our mark on it.
Right. But what happens when AI takes over many of those roles? We're already seeing jobs being automated, and that trend is only going to accelerate. So if our jobs are all done by robots, what happens to our sense of purpose?
It's the big question, isn't it? And one we need to grapple with. If work is so central to our identities, and AI is reshaping the landscape of work so dramatically, then we need to think deeply about how we adapt.
What will it mean to be human in a world where work may no longer define us in the same way?
Yeah, it's a question that's going to become increasingly relevant for all of us. It's not just about job losses. It's about a potential loss of meaning, a loss of identity.
It's a bit unsettling, isn't it? Like, if my job is literally replaced by a robot, then who am I? What's my purpose? What do I do with my time?
Big questions.
Hmm.
And I think it goes beyond retraining for new jobs. It's about reimagining what it means to live a fulfilling, meaningful life in a world that's been transformed by AI.
Exactly. It's not just about the economics, it's about our values, our sense of self. So we need to be proactive, not reactive. We need to be thinking now about what kind of future we want to create with AI.
Absolutely. Do we want a future where humans are relegated to the sidelines? Or do we want a future where AI empowers us to live more creative, more fulfilling lives?
That's the big question, isn't it? And I don't think there's an easy answer.
Nope. But I think we need to start asking these questions now before it's too late.
Agreed. Okay, wow, this has been a lot to process. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, but also kind of inspired.
It has, and I think it's a good point to pause for now. We'll come back in a bit to wrap things up and leave you with some final thoughts to ponder.
Okay, we're back. And I gotta say, that was a deep dive, if there ever was one. My brain is still buzzing with all these big questions about AI and what it means to be human in this crazy technological age.
I know, right? It's a lot to unpack. But these aren't just like abstract philosophical ponderings.
Yeah,
These questions have real implications for how we live our lives, how we shape the future.
absolutely. So let's do a quick recap for our listeners and see if we can pull out some key takeaways. We started by asking if AI can become self-aware. And it seems like through the lens of Hegel, at least, the answer is much more nuanced than just a yes or no.
Right. Hegel's big idea was that self-awareness is all about social recognition, the way we see ourselves reflected in the eyes of other minds.
So can AI, which interacts with the world in a totally different way, ever really achieve that kind of self-awareness?
It's a question that's still up for debate, big time. And then there's that whole master-slave dynamic we talked about. At first, we might think we're the ones in control, calling the shots. But the more we rely on AI, the more those lines get blurry.
Yeah. Could we end up being the ones who are controlled? In subtle ways we might not even realize.
It's definitely something to consider. And it reminds us that technology doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? It shapes us, just as we shape it. The question is, are we being mindful of how that relationship is evolving? Are we shaping AI in a way that aligns with our values? Or are we sleepwalking into a future where technology dictates our lives?
It's almost like AI is becoming an externalized part of us, one that we don't fully understand or control.
And that brings us back to the question of authenticity. What does it mean to be genuine, to be true to ourselves, when AI is mediating so much of our experience, predicting our wants, even shaping our perception of the world?
It's a challenge to our very sense of who we are. And one image that keeps coming to mind for me is that of a puppet.
A pup.
Yeah, we think we're the ones pulling the strings. But what if we're the ones being manipulated? What if AI is the puppet master and we're just dancing to its tune?
It's a powerful metaphor. And it highlights the importance of awareness, of critical thinking. We can't just passively accept whatever AI throws our way. We need to be questioning, challenging, making conscious choices about how we integrate this technology into our lives.
So to bring it back to our listener, what's the one big takeaway you'd want them to walk away with from this deep dive?
I think the most important message is that AI is a tool, a powerful tool. But like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It has the potential to enhance our lives, to help us solve some of the world's biggest challenges. But it also has the potential to erode our freedoms, to manipulate our thoughts and behaviors, to diminish our very sense of what it means to be human.
So it's not about being afraid of AI or rejecting it outright. It's about being aware of its impact, both positive and negative, and then making informed choices about how we want to live with it, how we want to shape our future with this technology.
Exactly. It's about being active participants in shaping that future, not just passive consumers of whatever technology throws at us.
Well said. And hey, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by all this AI philosophy talk, don't worry. We'll be sure to include some links in the show notes where you can learn more about Hegel, consciousness, AI ethics, all that good stuff. This deep dive was really just a starting point, a way to spark your curiosity and get you thinking critically about the role of AI in our world.
And on that note, I think we'll leave you with this final thought. AI is often described as a mirror, reflecting back our own hopes and anxieties about what it means to be human.
So we ask you, dear listener, what do you see in that reflection? What kind of future do you want to create with this powerful technology?
Keep those questions in mind and keep exploring. Until next time, dive deep and stay curious.
See ya.